Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Before we begin, as is tradition, I would like to thank each and every one of you for your viewership and your patronage. By watching these videos, you guys help me grow. Please consider subscribing, liking, and turning on the bell notification for any future video. As always, I would also like to thank you again and please ask you to consider to enable ads when you guys are watching these videos so that you can help me grow. Today's video subject is going to be on Linux containers. I'm putting everything else on a hold for now because I still don't like the results. And until I do, I'm just gonna keep pushing it back. What are LXC containers? If you guys are familiar with Docker, that's essentially it. And what do I mean by essentially? Uh, there's a couple of pretty big differences, but what you need to understand at the end of the day is that a Linux container shares everything but the kernel with the underlying operating system, whereas a Docker container, well, it's built on it. Docker was built on Linux containers. Then they got to the point where they managed to isolate everything, and after that, I could be talking out of my ass a little bit, but I think that at some point they even made their own ecosystem. But what you kind of need to understand is that Docker containers are completely isolated for developmental and security purposes, and Linux containers are only semi-isolated, where they still have relationship with the underlying operating system, except for the kernel, and that's one of their primary differences. So the part of containers that we're going to be talking about is what it is in Linux, or sorry, not in Linux, in Proxmox, and they're fairly easy to run and to manage. There are some intricacies, like for example, the one where you have to run, sorry, the one where you're running Ansible and you constantly get a bad gateway error. Now that's something that I'm still working on and I will fix it. But then you have other ones where, such as um Bookstack, which work fantastically. And I'm just gonna highlight a couple of ones just to guys give you an idea of what it is. And if you guys are running OpenWRT in your networking stack, that's definitely going to be helpful because it's what I'm running and I can sort of give you a quick rundown to how I do it. So let's take another container. We're going to do something easy. Let's do another Bookstack container. And under the create LXC container template, we're just going to select the strong password. So we're going to do password, and we're gonna go to the next thing. Now under template, if you have downloaded, actually, you know what, let's backtrack into it. So before you even get to your templates and to download one, if you have freshly installed Proxmox, this is not going to be populated right away. So how do you populate it? Go under your node, and under shell, what you want to do is you type in pvm update and you press enter. Once you get the update successful message, that's when you're going to go into your container templates and you're going to see all of them. Select a template that you want. So for example, let's go with, oh, I want to get something that has a proper GUI, or sorry, a nice GUI, so that I can show you guys what it is. I think Simple Machines. Yeah, Simple Machines is one of my favorite forum softwares. So running this should be easy peasy lemon squeezy. So as soon as this is done, we'll be right back. Once your template is downloading, you can go ahead and exit out of this. So we are just going to remember that it's a Simple Machines template that we want to work out of. So right click on your node, create a container, and let's just call it forum software. For the unprivileged container and the nesting, just leave it as default for now. There are some intricacies that I'm still doing a compiling of differences that highlight between unprivileged and privileged. But the essential of what you kind of need to understand for privileged and unprivileged is that if you need essentially like system level access, you want to give it privileged container. So you want to uncheck this if you want to give it like system level privilege. But if it's not that important, just leave it as an unprivileged container. For nesting, there's a lot of like missing documentation. Like I said, I'm still trying to create like a proper bullet point with the key differences. But for now, just leave it as default, especially for something like forum software. You don't really need anything overly specific. Go ahead and create a super secure password, password123, and click on next. Container templates. This is where we're gonna actually select the container template of what we want it to do. So the purpose of it is you're gonna have this like quote unquote mini OS or micro OS that's only going to be serving one purpose. And in this case, it's just going to be serving us with our simple machines forum. So once we've selected it, let's go ahead and click on OK. Disk size, depending on the machine, 16 gigs of disk space, two CPU cores, and 2 gigabytes of RAM. Under networking, I just selected our link aggregated interface, and then just leave it as is. Also, don't forget to set it as a DHCP service. Otherwise, it's not really going to get an IPv4 unless you manually get it to do it. DNS, just use the host settings. That's fine, and go into the summary to confirm that everything is good to go. I'm just going to click on Start after created, and then click on Finish. Extracting it is pretty quick and dirty. As soon as this lock essentially disappears, your container is good to go. So give it about 5 to 10 seconds. It generates your keys, and as soon as you see the task OS pop up, you are good to go. And let's go ahead and go over to 112. So walking through the actual container itself is pretty root is pretty simple. The machine login is always going to be root. There's not going to be an additional user, and then the login is whatever you guys set up in the into like the container deployments. And I think I might have messed it up. I think I did. So let me try that again. Root password one. Okay, what did I set it to? Password one. See? Okay, there we go. So my bad. I just got mixed up in my passwords. So for the most part, whenever you guys are having a container locally host a service, it usually comes with MySQL deployment locally to the container itself. So you can just set it up to be a whatever password you want it to be. So let's just go ahead and set it up password1231. Again, just for testing purposes, password1231. And then you are going to be greeted with a password for an admin account. So pass if I type it in, that would be great. Pass1231. Why is it so laggy? Hold on. Yeah, this doesn't normally happen. Hold on just a sec. Okay, so let's try that again. So pass 1 2 3 1. Pass 1 2 3 1. Okay, and so for email, if you have a locally hosted email server, this is where you're gonna put it. But for demonstrative purposes, I'm gonna leave it at admin@example.com. And the domain that you want it to do, just go ahead and input. Usually, what it is the host name plus the domain name of the machine. So in this case, it's gonna be forum dot. So forum dot with this. Why is it spazzing out? Okay, let's try that again. No, really? Okay, so let's reboot it. Sometimes it happens. Don't worry about it. You should be able to just reboot the container and restart. Right. Root password 1 2 3. Okay, so okay, so MySQL password. Okay, there we are. So pass 1 2 3 1. Pass 1 2 3 1. Or admin. Email is gonna be whatever, and here it is. Forum dot, which is essentially what I kind of wanted to explain to you guys. It's gonna be the host name plus the full domain name, and you guys want to leave it at that. So for API keys, just skip all of that. The API service is I think it's a paid service by Turnkey Linux. Anything that's not critical, and then you can just install the regular updates and call it a day. So once this is done, we should be able to access our forum via IP. If you are on OpenWRT, so let's go ahead and go to our, whoopsie daisy. Let's go ahead and go to our router. If you are using OpenWRT, what you want to do is essentially you're going to go into network, DHCP, and DNS, resolve, or sorry, static leases. And we are going to create a new static lease, and then we're going to call it forum. And that's all you need to do in the host name. You're not gonna put the FQD in. You're just gonna leave it as the host name of the machine. We still need the IP address and the MAC address of it. So for MAC address, all you gotta do is just go into network and copy the MAC address from there. You're gonna give it an infinite lease time. MAC address is this. Whoops. And if I remember correctly, then being my IPs being sequentially sent out, they should be 158. Hmm. Yeah, there you go. So 158. So IP address, let's go ahead and give it 158. It's already assigned. And we're gonna check out the we don't have to force broadcast it, but you definitely want to add the forward and reverse uh, information. So once you have added that, let's go ahead and click on save our changes, and we're gonna go back into Proxmox. So it's gonna give us our IP address over here, and it's gonna give us HTTPS. But because we have already filled out our DNS, let's go ahead and access it by domain name. And here you go. Now, don't get me wrong, it's some of these containers are running a little bit out of date. However, for what you're getting, it's literally a 1 or maybe 2 click service, and then you just fill in some details. And let's go ahead and log in with our admin account, S1231. And there you go. You are now an administrator of your own little forum hosted on a tiny little virtual machine. Well, it's not really a virtual machine, but on a tiny little container that's using a very small, minuscule amount of resources, and it's serving a service that's literally for you. That's a quick and dirty intro on a container and a little bit of the containers that you guys can see in Proxmox. There are a lot, and I mean a lot, of templates that you can choose from. There's full operating system containers over here, and you guys have ones that are specific service. You got Ansible, you got B2 Evolution, which is another forum software, Bookstack, Cake PHP, which is a developmental framework. Going down, you have a couple of CMSs, you have database servers, you have Drupal E107, you have file server, you have help desk software, gallery. It's I highly encourage you guys to take a look at it if you have the ability to do so. It's really fun and it's really educational to mess with it, and you can learn a lot from it. Thank you very much for watching this one. It was quick and dirty. I will see you guys in the next one.